Dragon Quest 1 and 2 HD-2D remake is fast approaching, and in today's video I have another preview for you all going over the expanded story, new locations, items, abilities and everything else in between, and I'm hoping you can join me for this one. So with that all being said, what is up guys, Jen here, hope you're all doing well. Welcome back to the channel. As always, got you covered, timestamps down below, so if you want to skip to a certain section, feel free to do so. All I ask is you to support the channel, hit that like button, and if you want to stick around for some more Dragon Quest content, you're already in the right place. Just hit that subscribe button. Huge shout out to Square Enix for providing me with the footage so I can get this preview all together. Now, like the previews I have done before, I will be breaking this up into Dragon Quest 1 and Dragon Quest 2, and we will be beginning with Dragon Quest 1. The first thing I'm going to be talking about is the Thieves' Key. Now you're probably asking yourself, Jen, the Thieves' Key, it was never in Dragon Quest 1. But as we all know, Dragon Quest 1 and 2 is expanded. There's new things being introduced, and the Thieves' Key in Dragon Quest 1 is one of them. And it's quite the story on how we obtain this, because this Thieves' Key happens to be the same Thieves' Key that we had in Dragon Quest 3. It has ended up in the possession of a swindler, and he is showing it off to everyone in town like, hey, look at this key. It is rumored that it was once held by the mighty Erdrick, but as he's a swindler, he is wanting quite a hefty sum for this key. He tells everyone he's going by the seaside to stay at an inn. This happens to be a new location in Dragon Quest 1 between the town of Alfengard and the Craggy Cave. And yes, the Craggy Cave, the optional dungeon in Dragon Quest 1. So we make our way to the roadside inn and we find the swindler, but he's lying down, he's passed out. He's been KO'd by what he describes as a strange fellow and asks us to find out what has happened. And of course, as the hero, we decide to investigate. So we go to the Craggy Cave, and who are we greeted by? None other than Robin Hood and his Robin Hoodlums.
Huh? Thou seekest the key that was stolen? My blinking key?
And he is not happy to see us. And of course, we want that Thieves' Key. So we are thrusted into battle with Robin Hood and his hoodlums. We defeat him.
Thou hast clobbered me fair and square.
And he asks us for our name. We tell him our name and our history. And he realizes, hold on a minute, his family and our family go way back of what we played in Dragon Quest 3. He ain't too bothered about handing it us over as long as we find one of his hoodlums that's lost in the Craggy Cave. So of course, we agree to do that. After searching the Craggy Cave, we come across a sorcerer that has the hoodlum cornered. We go into battle, we defeat him, we return him back to Robin Hood, and he gives us the Thieves' Key. And that is all that we are going to be talking about today when it comes to this story section in Dragon Quest 1. Where this takes place in the game, I don't know. I should imagine it's around the midpoint, but it's nice to see that the Craggy Cave, with the Thieves' Key probably being mandatory, the Craggy Cave is also mandatory, and weaving in the Robin Hood legacy and relating it back to our legacy is a very nice touch and is going to be really nice to experience. The fact that we get the Thieves' Key as well means that we have more treasures to find, more locations to backtrack to, and with new locations throughout Dragon Quest 1 as well, it's gonna be a barrel of a time when it comes to exploring this game. Now, a couple of things when it comes to combat in Dragon Quest 1. We are the solo hero and we're going against multiple enemies this time, so there is definitely a little bit of a different approach in battle. We know that we get more abilities and we get more spells to play around with. And a really nice thing that they've introduced, when we go through our list of abilities, we get told about vulnerabilities of enemies, and it's a visual cue in the menu. So for example, if an enemy is weak against cattle prod, the icon has a nice glow to it. It tells us that the enemy is vulnerable. So it gives us a layer and helps us out in combat a lot more. There's many abilities that the hero has access to, one of them being Cop Out. The description of this has been changed to say that it potentially deflects enemies' attacks onto another enemy. So it's a very nice ability to probably be using since you're the only character you'll be controlling in Dragon Quest 1. Also, as we explore the craggy cave, we come across a scroll. These have been mentioned before, both in other previews and from myself, and we get that beautiful animation of learning a new ability, and this one happens to be Nose of Treasure. This is a great ability to find all of the treasures, because we know that there's probably going to be a trophy for finding all of the treasures, and it's a great ability to have because, again, it incentivizes exploration, going into all the nooks and crannies of certain places, whether it's barrels, pots, or just sparkly places within locations. And there are going to be more of these scrolls to find through just finding them naturally or doing certain requirements in the game. Just seeing what we've got here in this small preview of Dragon Quest I makes me very excited to replay Dragon Quest I because of the multiple enemies and the plethora of abilities that we get to mess around with. Not only with new items like the Thief's Key introduced, I think Dragon Quest I is going to be a very fun game and a great setup for Dragon Quest II to play through. Very interested to see how Dragon Quest I will tackle its endgame, but if the Thief's Key is anything to go by, I think we're in for a good time. So let's move on to Dragon Quest II. Now, for this particular story section of Dragon Quest II, we are on the hunt for our first sigil, the Star Sigil. Because within Dragon Quest II, we need to find 5 of these to be able to summon Rubis. And it's nice to know that this entire section, including the sigils himself, has been expanded. So we enter upon the lighthouse and we are greeted with an old man who is the guardian of the sigil, he tells us. And we must go through this lighthouse to follow him to where the Star Sigil is located. So we do as the old man says, because he seems very convincing. The heroes discuss amongst themselves and they feel like it's a good thing to do. But as we progress floor by floor in the lighthouse, the old man seems to make it before us, even though he was behind us to each floor. And we slowly get more and more suspicious until we get to the top of the lighthouse. This dungeon, of course, has been expanded. There's much more nooks and crannies to explore, some more hidden items as well to find. But we make it to the top. The sigil is coated in a darkness. And then the old man says it's all fine. So the hero and the princess of Moonbrook go towards it with our backs turned to the old man. And the old man tries to strike us down. But because we've got the prince and princess of Cannock with us, they have our back. The prince isn't as useless as he once was in the original Dragon Quest II. And they stop us from getting back attacked. And the old man reveals himself to be a necromancer, accompanied by what we're familiar with from the original Dragon Quest II, 4 gremlins. We then defeat the old man and we grab the Star Sigil. Now this section, with the lighthouse in particular, is expanded. The floors are larger and there's more of a story than we got in the original Dragon Quest II. But in Dragon Quest II, the original, it was just simply 4 gremlins that were disguised as an old man, and I believe he is waiting for you already right at the top. But this one, we gradually go through the lighthouse, learning and getting more suspicious with the party interacting with one another, which is a great sign for just the camaraderie of the 4 heroes here. Even though us, the main hero, will not be speaking with the silent protagonist, the relationship and the vibe between the Princess of Moonbrook and the Prince and Princess of Cannock is going to really sell this story and make this story feel like a nice journey, because with Dragon Quest III we had a party formed of characters that we made and they didn't really interact nor speak throughout the story. Plus, with our silent protagonist, it was the NPCs doing the storytelling. In Dragon Quest I, it's going to be very much the same. It will be the NPCs carrying the story for us. But Dragon Quest II, we have a party of heroes, and just seeing these small sections where they are interacting with one another really gets me looking forward in what they are going to offer throughout the whole story of Dragon Quest II. Now, with combat with Dragon Quest II, we're touching a lot of the same things when it comes to Dragon Quest I, with the new vulnerability system and the markers to help us like defeat flying enemies, for example, by knowing what abilities to hit. And we can have a look at the enemy info on the fly within Dragon Quest I and II. The prince, as I've mentioned from what I played as well, is not as squishy as he once was. We see him in some of the footage holding a badass little sword here. He is not the squishy boy he once was. He is a vital member of this party of 4 and a lot of fun to experiment and play with. So when it comes to the combat of Dragon Quest II, I don't want to go into too much more details because I'll just be retreading ground of what I mentioned with Dragon Quest I, but we do know that the Princess of Canuck is more of a gadabout, a bit of thief, a bit of dancer, a bit of everything. A jack of all trades, I guess we could call her, and she is a pivotal player. Now, I mentioned that the lighthouse is ever expanded. There's more places to explore, and we actually find a scroll containing multi-slice, which means we have a plethora of abilities that we can mess around with. And then the last thing I want to touch on is that the sigils have a unique property to them. They're going to be bringing something to the table. They're not just key items anymore. These have unique properties that enhance the party, and the star sigil in particular allows characters to recover a certain amount of MP when they defend in battle, which is great. It brings a layer of strategy to battle. Maybe Princess of Moonbrook, you're running out of MP because you've been healing too much, or the Prince of Canuck, you've been using his swish or zap a little bit too much and you have no magic water on hand. Defend a couple of turns and you're going to gain at least some MP back to be able to do one more magic spell here or there, which is great. I'm very excited to see what other effects the other star sigils bring to table, whether it's tied to defending, maybe it's something you get at the end of battle, maybe it's like an EXP boost. It could be anything, but it brings a new layer to these items that we collect and gives the items a bit more of a meaning, since we are collecting them for Rubis. As long as it's in our possession, we get the special effects. Whether the sigils that we come across later in the game have more than one unique property, we do not know. It's something to look forward to, and that in my mind is great. I'm very excited. Everything that we're seeing from Dragon Quest I and II HD-2D Remake is getting me more excited. I cannot wait for October 30th. These games are going to be such a pleasure to play through, and looking at the story elements, the expanded story elements that have been introduced, it's going to tie the trilogy nicely. And having Dragon Quest III such fresh on the mind and seeing the little throwbacks that we're going to get back and the links, it's going to be interesting. So let me know in the comment section down below, are you excited for Dragon Quest I and II HD-2D Remake, and what platform are you planning on picking it up for? I appreciate your time. Thank you for watching, and until next time, I'll catch you on the flip side.